Now, in terms of questions, we will, so you can use the raise hand option to ask an audio question. Now, if you are using the web-based platform, you'll have to do it via audio questions, as the chat function hasn't been built into the web platform yet. But if you are using the desktop app, then you will be able to ask questions via the desktop chat option. Now, the webinar today will be recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording and the presentation after the webinar is finished today as well. Okay, so what I'll try and do as we're progressing through the presentation, I'll try and leave as many questions as I can till the end of the presentation if possible. We have got quite a bit to get through, and I will be doing a bit of a live demo of the interface itself. Now, I won't run through absolutely everything, but I'll go through some of the common options that we would use in the management platform, and also take a look at some of the licensing options, the Teams integration, and also connecting Yealink and SIP H323 endpoints to the system as well. All right, so first of all, I'll run through the agenda. So today we'll be looking at the Yealink meeting platform, a quick overview. We'll then jump straight into the product demonstration. I'll then go through some of the Yealink hardware-based video endpoints, including the new MeetingEye solutions from Yealink. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll run through a product promotion that Yealink are currently running, and we'll also just quickly go over some of the pricing models for the Yealink meeting. Okay, before we kick off into Yealink meeting, most of you all are probably aware of Yealink, know about Yealink, know where they've come from, but I'll quickly just give you a quick rundown. So Yealink was founded in China in 2001. They first of all entered the market in the USB phone arena for Skype. By 2005, they were #1 in the world for USB phones. In 2009, they launched their first SIP phone into the market. And by 2014, they were the #2 in the world for SIP phones. Around 2016, they launched into the VC space and came out with their first version of their on-premise hardware solutions for VC. In 2017, SIP platform IP phones, and they also listed themselves onto the stock exchange in China as well. Now, in regards to Yealink Meeting, they launched that in 2019 in China. So it's actually been running in China for around about 18 months. And then they've launched the platform globally now in 2020. Okay, so what is Yealink Meeting? So Yealink Meeting is a cloud-based video conferencing platform. It supports full HD. The plans can support up to 500 video participants, and it can also support up to 49 video streams on a single screen at one time. So basically, it supports very similar options to some of the competitors in the market at this point as well. The Yealink Meeting is very flexible, so it can be joined from multiple device types. So we can connect from mobile and iPad-based devices running iOS and Android. We have a PC-based desktop client, and then the platform will also support Yealink room systems, but also any SIP or H32 standard room hardware can be connected to the Yealink management platform. Now, the system also has Microsoft Teams integration. Okay, some of the highlights of Yealink Meeting. All right, so Yealink, being a technology-driven company, has ensured that the Yealink meeting platform is going to be up to standard. It's going to be right up there to competitors in the video space. So the platform has a global architecture. So there are servers situated around the globe. It has AI support. Now there's a big focus on security, and it also has a bunch of compatibility options allowing for open standard connectivity, such as SIP and H.323 devices. Okay, so being a cloud-based solution, we can connect from anywhere that has an internet connection. So the infrastructure has 5 main data centers situated around the globe, and the closest one to Australia is in Singapore. Now, what they also do is they have what they call RTN nodes, which basically routes the RTP traffic and keeps the RTP traffic local to a particular region. So there's 22 RTN nodes situated around the globe, and we have an RTN node situated in a data center in Sydney. Now, 99% of the heavy populated regions are all covered with a data center and an RTN node. Now, in terms of the performance, so as I said in the previous slide, Yealink have launched this in China back in 2019, and they already have over 10 million users online to this day. Now, because the platform is globally dispersed across the globe, they do run the platform in AWS data centers, so it does have a high availability of around about 99.93% uptime. Okay, so going back to the RTN nodes. So what the RTN nodes do is basically route the RTP traffic and keep the RTP traffic local to your region. So before Yealink implemented the RTP nodes, or the RTN nodes as they call them, the latency between some of these dispersed locations, so for instance from Europe to Asia, was around about 280 milliseconds. But once they've implemented the RTN nodes, we can basically connect anywhere around the world and have a connection with a latency of less than 200 milliseconds. Have always prioritized security. So all of their products, all of their services have high level security. So the meeting platform itself is fully compliant to the GDPR standards. All personal data is stored on your local data center. So for the Australian customers, all of our username, passwords, company information is all stored in the data center in Singapore. Now that information is not transferred to any other of their data centers. It stays local to the local data center. Now all video and audio traffic that goes through the Yealink meeting service is encrypted with AES 256-bit encryption, and it uses the SRTP protocol. And all the signaling is also encrypted using TLS. Now the meeting will be secured, so each meeting ID and meeting password can actually be randomly generated each time you schedule a meeting. Now you can select to use your predefined meeting ID if you want to, but you can also select to randomly generate those meeting IDs and passwords so that people don't remember your meeting ID and try and join a meeting that has been finished or is being used while you're not using your meeting room. Now another thing we can do here is lock our meetings. So if we are having a important video call, what we can do is once we know that everybody has joined the meeting, we can then lock that meeting room so nobody else can join that meeting. Okay, so just focusing a bit more on the encryption. So even if we are doing point-to-point calls, so if we do a peer-to-peer or a point-to-point call between two parties in a local region, then the RTP traffic will actually traverse directly between those two parties, and it won't be routed through the RTN nodes. Now, when those two parties do a point-to-point call, again, the audio and video is encrypted using SRTP. Now, in terms of scheduling meetings, we can force all participants who run through the lobby. So they will actually enter the meeting through the lobby and will have to get allowed or given access to enter the meeting. Now, in terms of recording as well, so the platform does support recording. Now, all those recordings are securely stored on the servers and also shared onto the internet as well. Okay, now in terms of compatibility, because the platform is SIP H323 protocols, we can support connectivity from various vendor endpoints. So Avaya, Polycom, Cisco, Lifesize, as long as that platform that you're using supports SIP or H323, the Yealink meeting platform will support connection from that device. Now, the platform also has global PSTN dial-in support across the globe. So there are Australian numbers that you can use to invite audio participants into your meetings. Now, there's also a plugin for Outlook for scheduling meetings. We have that integration with Teams. And as you're all aware, we do have that WebRTC support. So we can connect via a browser or any browser that supports WebRTC. All right, looking at some of the other or the AI functionalities. So the platform does support background blur. Also supports auto framing. So auto framing will, depending on the device that you're using, will allow the remote participants to be able to view everybody that's in a meeting room. So for instance, if you have one person in a room, the camera will automatically frame or fit that one person into the middle of your video frame. If you have another 2, 3, 4 people come into the room and sit down and join the meeting, the camera will automatically zoom out to fit all parties into the video frame. The platform also supports speaker tracking as well. So not only will we zoom in or support auto framing to fit all parties in the frame, but if somebody is talking, then we can actually get a close-up zoom in on the person who is speaking at that time. Okay, so Yealink have made a very smart and simple to use interface. So the interface is very clean and very easy to use. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm quickly going to open up a web browser and show you how easy it is to set up a trial license of the Yealink meeting platform, how we create an enterprise or a company under the platform, and then I'll quickly go over some of the main features of the management portal as well. Okay, so to get access to the Yealink meeting portal, what we will do is we log into or we browse to yealinkmeeting.com. Now from here, we can sign up for a trial account. So it's as simple as clicking on sign up. Okay, we fill out some details. So I'll quickly just go through this now. Okay, so we're putting in our location details. We'll enter an email address to sign up to the platform. We'll give a name and the password. Now, what this is doing is actually creating a personal account initially. And once we create a personal account on the system, we can then log in and create our company or our enterprise. Accept the agreement. Now, what we need to do is swap this to verify. Now, what it's going to do is send a verification code to our email address. I'll quickly just jump on my email and grab this code. Shouldn't be too long. All right, verification. Put in the verification code and it creates our user. So once we've created our user, what we need to do is sign into the platform with the credentials we just used to create this user. For some reason today, guys, my internet at home is running quite slow. Okay, so what we do, enter our email address that we use to register and also the password and sign in. Now, once we've signed into the platform, so by creating a single user account, Yealink does have a free service. So we can actually support up to 100 participants on a free license, but the limitation of the meeting time is 40 minutes. Okay, now that we've created our free license and we've logged in, we can now create a company. So up the top here, we create an enterprise. Create enterprise again, and we put in the details of our company. Fill in the required fields and hit OK. Now, it's creating an enterprise ID for our business. Now, this enterprise ID is what we use to, or what Yealink use to generate licenses, and it also becomes the first 6-digit number for our meeting IDs. Okay, now that we've created the enterprise, it's going to make me log back in again. Yeah, so with the enterprise ID, so if we are ordering licenses to Yealink, what we need is an enterprise ID, and that's how we marry up the licenses to your enterprise. Now, if you are setting up a trial account and you do want to trial the system for 30 days, for 3 months, what we need is you to perform the procedure that I've just done now, and then send the enterprise ID to Alloy, and then we can get trial licenses activated on your account. Okay, so now if I log in to the platform again, we'll see that an enterprise has now been created. Again, I do apologize for my internet. For some reason, running very slow today. Okay, now that I've created the enterprise, so it creates the enterprise, becomes the administrator of that enterprise. So now you can see on the left-hand side, I have all of these options that have now appeared, and these are based on enterprise-based settings. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually skip to another user now, and I'll run through the platform that actually has licenses assigned. But one key point to take from this here is, so when you do create a trial account, make sure you create that enterprise after you've created your user. Send that enterprise ID to Alloy. Also make note of that enterprise ID. Send it to Alloy, and then we can assign temporary licenses to the platform so you can do some testing with the Yealink meeting. Okay, so one thing to show you here quickly before I move on to the next part is if you try this, you can view it again. So if we just go to enterprise settings, go to enterprise profile, here we can see the enterprise ID. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm quickly going to sign out of this one, and I'll sign into our existing account that we're using now to run the webinar, so I can show you some of the licenses and some of the features that we can use in the platform. Okay, so when I first log into the platform itself, it's going to log in as, so it's logging in as my personal account. So we'll see my personal calendar, we'll see any meetings that are personal, in my personal account. Okay, what we're seeing now is my calendar and my schedule. So as we know, so the webinar that we're doing right now is this system here. So this is the webinar that we're in right now. Now these settings up here are all your personal settings. So these are your system settings for your own personal usage. Now under the admin section, this is where we see our company-wide settings. Okay, so under the dashboard, this will display all the licenses that we have available on our enterprise. Okay, so I'll just run through some of the license types. So first of all, we have our host license. So our host licenses are our users. So these are licensed users schedule and run meetings based on our license type. So up the top here, you can see that I'm using a business edition. So we'll get through the edition types a bit later in the webinar. Okay, we've also got Yealink room licenses. So these are the licenses that we require to connect a Yealink-based room system to the platform. We also have our room connector licenses. So this is used to connect any SIP or H323-based device to the platform. We have our webinar license, our PSTN connector license. So this license here is our dial-in license. So by default, with a standard business license, you'll get 100 minutes of inbound dialing into the platform. We have a recording space of 100 gig. We have our minutes of live streaming package, and then we have our Teams connector here as well. So at the moment, you can see here I have 10 ports available for our Teams connector license. So what that 10 ports, so again, for all of the Yealink room systems, the SIP and H323 based licenses and the team licenses, these are concurrent connections to the platform. So with 10 Teams connector licenses, I can have 10 concurrent calls from the Yealink platform to Teams. Okay, so once we know and understand the licensing types, what we can do is we can create users. So there's several ways to create users. So we can import users into a platform via a CSV file. We can add accounts manually, or what we can all invite users to the platform. So what we can do is we can copy the link here and send this invitation out to our users that we want to register on the platform, and then they can register themselves on this platform. Now, if we are doing that, we do have a couple of options here. So we can enable it so the user has to be approved by the administrator before they get access to the system. And then we can also give them the option to apply to join the enterprise that we're using as well. Now, another option is to send them the QR code to join the platform as well. Okay, now once we've imported or created users on the platform, all of the users will join the platform as unlicensed or free accounts. So what we need to do is we need to assign the host licenses. Now, by default, if we don't assign licenses to the users, they will have a free license and they will be limited to that 40-minute meeting time frame. Okay, now to assign a license, all we need to do is we click on the user. Sorry, that was the wrong option. Back to users. Right, so we're going to tick the box and click on edit. And here we have the license option. So by default, they would have been on a free license. But what we can do is if we do have host licenses available, then we can transfer that user to be a licensed user. So what we can do is we can actually run unlicensed and licensed users on the platform at one time. It just means if a unlicensed user creates a meeting, they're limited to that 40-minute time frame. Okay, now once we've created our users, we might have room systems that we want to also register to the platform. So these could be Yealink platform users, these could be SIP and H323 type platforms as well. A very simple process to register room systems. So very similar to creating a user account. It's basically just a username and a password. So if we go to the VC200, for instance, now again, we put in a username and password for this user. Sorry, edit user. We create an ID for the virtual meeting room for the license. For the user, we then assign a Yealink room license to the platform. We give it a password and we hit OK. Once we've done that, we can then use these credentials on the Yealink room system to register that device to this platform. If I go quickly here to the room systems, so this is the VC200 that I have here at home at the moment. What we can do is it's as simple as enabling the cloud account, selecting the Yealink VC cloud from the platform type, putting in the username and password that we generated on the platform, the server address, which is your enterprise ID.onylyun.com, and then we hit confirm. So once we've registered a room system to the platform, that then becomes a user on the platform, and we can dial a room system or via the 6-digit or the 4-digit ID we've assigned to that user. Okay, now in terms of the meeting management, so this is giving you the option to manage currently running meetings. So at the moment, we're running the webinar. So if I click on here, we can actually manage that meeting from this platform. Now, under the VMR management, so virtual meeting room, so every user you create on the platform is going to have a virtual meeting room. So we can set up particular features for each user's virtual meeting room. Each user's virtual meeting room can actually have different functions and enabled for each user. So if we want to allow live streaming of a meeting per meeting room, this can be enabled from this section here. We can also enable automatic recording. We can enable the default speaking mode. We can make it so all participants that join the meeting are muted upon entry, and we can also change the layout of the meeting as well. And then we also have video and audio functionality here that we can tweak as well. Okay, another couple of things that I'll show you. So because the platform does support recording, so once you do record meetings onto the platform, they will all be available here. Now, from here, we can download the meeting. Now, if you want to share the actual meeting from this platform, that can also be done from here as well. So alternatively, we can download the recording and put it on and store it locally, or we can share it from this platform itself. Okay, the last thing I'll quickly go through here is some of the enterprise settings. So it's default meeting settings. Again, we can change the speaker view and a couple other functions from here. We can also create some administrators for the platform here as well. And then quickly, I'll quickly show you the Teams access. So what we need to do here is there's a few different things we need to do for the Teams configuration, which I'll show you based on some of the slides that I've got coming up rather than going through the platform here. Okay, so we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation now. All right, so now I'll just go through some of the advanced features of the platform. So the webinar functionality, the live streaming, the recording, and also the Microsoft Teams integration. Okay, so if you do want to host webinars on the platform, as we saw back in the licensing types, the webinar is an additional license. We then assign that license to a user account, like we did with the normal host license. And then once we've assigned that webinar license to a user, when that user wants to schedule a meeting, they can either select to do a personal meeting or they can select to schedule a webinar. Now, one thing I'll quickly, actually I'll do it shortly. Okay, so once we've done that, we can then run webinars from that user. Now, if we are looking at live streaming events, we can enable live streaming for the virtual meeting room of that user, and then we can actually start a live stream from either the video desktop client, the Yealink meeting room desktop client, or we can do it from the web page, and we can also share the link to the live streaming via QR code or via URL. Okay, meeting recording. So what we can do is we can configure recording templates from the enterprise platform. Once we do that, we can enable recording one of two ways. So we can enable record desktop client, which is just by clicking more and hitting record, or we can do it via the enterprise platform, and we can use the meeting controls to enable recording from there. So I'll quickly just show you that. So if we went to meetings, went to meeting control, from here I can actually mute participants, I can kick people off if I wanted to, and I can also enable recording if I wanted to as well. Sorry, my internet's really slow today. Okay, so we can see all of the participants in the meeting, and we can change the layout, we can change the speaker modes, we can invite more people, we can send messages to people, we can also enable recording. Okay, now the Teams integration. So the way that Yealink have set up Teams integration is that they have their platform, which connects to a Teams connector, which then connects back to Microsoft 365 and into Teams. So what we need to do, so there's a couple of things we need to do to allow or give access to the Yealink platform from within Teams. So first of all, we need to make sure that we're enabling external access and also guest access into your Teams environment. Once we do that, we need to give permission for the Yealink platform to talk to your Teams infrastructure. And then what we need to do is generate CVI configuration the Teams platform as well. Now, you can probably see from the screenshot here, what Yealink are actually doing is using the BlueJeans integration platform to integrate from the Yealink meeting platform into Microsoft Teams. Okay, once we've done our configuration on the team side, we then need to configure the Yealink meeting platform to talk to Microsoft Teams. So first of all, we need to make sure we have licenses to enable the Teams connections. We then need to enter the tenant ID of your Microsoft Office 365 tenant. So the tenant ID is not your domain name. It's actually a long string, which you can go to a website and find out what your tenant ID is in your Office 365 domain. Once we do that, we then need to create outbound rules and call routing rules to be able to call from Teams to, from Yealink, the Yealink meeting platform to Microsoft Teams. Now, once we do that, what we can do is we can create point-to-point calls. So from in the Yealink desktop client, we can call the Teams email address or the Teams user via the desktop client and do a direct point-to-point call. What we can also do is call into a Teams meeting as well. So once you've set up the VTC configuration on Microsoft Teams, once we do that, when you do create a Teams invite, we'll see the VTC ID in the invite option here, and we can then dial directly into a Teams meeting. And then what we can also do is we can also invite Teams users into a Yealink meeting as well. All right, that's the Yealink meeting platform. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the Yealink's latest MeetingEye VC endpoints. Now, I'm not going to focus on the older endpoints. I'm just going to focus on the MeetingEye systems today. Okay, so just a quick rundown. So the second generation VC endpoints from Yealink were the VC200, the VC500, and the VC800. What Yealink have now launched is the MeetingEye series. So there's two different variations, the MeetingEye 400 and the MeetingEye. So MeetingEye 400 supports 4K, it supports 133-degree field of view, it supports AI, auto framing and speaker tracking, and it also supports a automatic lens cap. So the actual camera lens cap will open when a meeting starts and then close when a meeting finishes. Now, the MeetingEye 600 supports dual camera. So that second camera is used for AI intelligent framing and speaker tracking. Now, both of these solutions have 8 built-in microphones and 2 speakers. Okay, so the upgraded camera in the MeetingEye solution compared to the older Gen 2 devices is a 20 megapixel Ultra HD 4K camera, and it has a wide 133-degree field of view. Now, the camera also is using a Sony CMOS. Okay, so with the MeetingEye 600, again, it has two cameras. So one camera for the speaker tracking and auto framing, and the second camera for the actual visuals. Okay, now by using a 20 megapixel camera, when we do use the digital zoom, then we're not going to lose that quality. So normally, if you use, what we've seen before on mobile phones and things like that, if we do zoom in digitally, it does distort the picture. So by having a 20 megapixel camera, we can still zoom in and okay, so the MeetingEye 400 and 600 support 4K video, so 4K content sharing and 4K video streaming as well. Okay, now we can get 4K 30 frames from only 2 meg because it's utilizing the H.265 protocol, but they do recommend that 4 meg is required up and down to support 4K. Okay, some of the AI framing technologies. So we've got the face detection, human detection, auto framing, and speaker tracking as well. So the face detection and the human detection will actually count how many people are in the room as well. And we can track how many people are in the room and give you a person count. Okay, so again, we're talking about the auto framing and speaker tracking. So again, like I said earlier on, with the auto framing, it will fit all people in the room into the frame automatically. If you've got 2 people, it'll zoom in on those 2 people and fit it into the video frame. And then we also have speaker tracking. So if somebody speaks, it will zoom into that one individual who is speaking. Okay, in terms of the audio quality of the MeetingEye, so we have 8 built-in mics, and then we have true full duplex with the 2 speakers and the 8 microphone array. Okay, so the MeetingEyes are an all-in-one design. So it's got a built-in codec, it's got the built-in mic, it's got the built-in camera, the built-in speaker, built-in Bluetooth, built-in Wi-Fi, and also supports wireless presentation sharing. So we can actually wirelessly present a PowerPoint presentation or whatnot into your video meetings via Yealink's WPP20 wireless presentation pod, or we also support AirPlay and Miracast on these devices. Okay, now the platform, being an all-in-one device, is very simple to deploy. So it's 3 cables is all we need. So an Ethernet cable to connect to your network, a power cable, and a HDMI cable to your TV. Very simple and quick and easy to deploy. Okay, we've got a few different mounting options available for the MeetingEye series. So they can be mounted on a trolley, they can be wall mounted. So the unit does come with a wall mount bracket, also be TV mounted as well. So we've got the automatic lens cap, as I mentioned earlier. So once the meeting starts, the cap will automatically open. Once the meeting finishes, the cap will close automatically as well for privacy. All right, so just to finish off here, we're going to look at some of the pricing models of the Yealink meeting platform, and we'll also have a look at some of the promotions that Yealink are running in September as well. Okay, so there's 3 different services for the platform. So we've got the free version, which I spoke about earlier on, with the limit of 40 minutes. We then have a standard and the business version. Now with the standard version, the cost is $16 per month, and you need to have a minimum of one host. Now once your license can support up to 100 participants with unlimited meeting duration. Now, the standard license also provides you with 1 gig of recording space. Now, moving up to the business model, so we're looking at $22 a month per user. Now, all this pricing is ex-GST as well. Now, to configure a business account or use business licenses, we need a minimum of 5 host licenses purchased to support business. Now, the business licenses will actually support up to 300 participants and is upgradable to 500 video participants. Now, in regards to the recording space for the business license gives you 1 terabyte of cloud recording. Okay, now moving on to some of the add-ons. So the platforms themselves, when we sign up to the platform, we're signing up for a year. So when we sign up, the minimum contract is 12 months for each host license or for each license. So the yearly cost for the standard user is $160, and the yearly cost for the business user is $220. Now, as we can see, or if you're sharp with your maths, we can see that doesn't actually calculate exactly to the per monthly cost. So when you do buy 12 months, you do get 2 months for free. All right, so the additional licenses that are available for the platform is the Yealink Meeting Connector license, which allows us to connect SIP and H323 endpoints to the platform. This is a yearly cost of $579. The live streaming license is also based on a yearly cost, and for $44 we can get 10,000 minutes of streaming minutes. The recording storage, we can actually add 100 gig additional of storage for $44 a year as well. And in terms of the webinar services, there's a couple of different license options here. So we've got up to 500 participants or up to 1,000. And then we've got yearly cost for those. So 500 is $3,478, and the 1,000 devices is $6,086 per year. Now, if we do want to allow connectivity to Microsoft Teams, then again, we have a yearly license cost, which is $464 per year. All right, so looking at the promotion that Yealink is running for the rest of the year, actually it is. So this is directed at the SIP phone channel, because Yealink is most popular for their IP phones. We thought we'd offer this promotion to that channel. So the promotion is that if you buy 10 SIP IP phones in 1 month, you'll get a free half-year license or business license. If you buy 20 IP phones in 1 month, you'll receive 3 business host licenses for half a year. If you buy more than 30 IP phones in a month, you'll get up to 6 free business licenses for half a year. Now, this is available to all. So if you are buying IP phones at the moment, make sure you get hold of these free licenses. Now, these free licenses, you can use them internally for yourself, or you can sell them to your customers. So you don't need to keep them and use them, you can sell them to your customers. So for instance, 1 host license for half a year, it's around about $110. So you can actually on-sell that to your customers if you like to. Now, the maximum that a reseller can get per month is up to 6 host licenses. Okay, so another promotion that's been running for a few months now is obviously we got the free trial that we can get from the platform. So like I ran through before, sign up for your free trial on the Yealink Meeting website, generate your enterprise ID, send me the enterprise ID, and we'll get licenses assigned to your enterprise so you can do some testing on this platform. Now, another promo that's running is if you do buy any Yealink VC endpoint, you'll also get a standard user license for free as well, 1 year license. Okay, so another promo that's running at the moment. So if you do sign up and register users on the Yealink platform now, then you'll get a free MS Teams connector license and a free SIP H323 license for all meetings in 2020. Okay, so you buy a host license for a year. For the rest of 2020, you'll receive free Teams and SIP and H323. Okay, that's it, guys. I know that was a lot to go through, and I went through it quite quickly. If you do have any questions, please raise your hand, and I'll unmute you, and you can ask away. Okay, John, you had your hand up from the very beginning. So, John, did you have a question? I've unmuted you now, John, if you do want to ask a question. Nope. Okay. Okay, Charlie, you got your hand up?
So just wanted to ask a single one. Just wanted to ask a single question. Is that a UVC 80 camera have a speaker tracking in there as well, or not?
No, the UVC 80 only supports auto framing.
Okay, so the only one we have got with the speaker tracking is MeetingEye 400 or 600.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, all good. That's it for me.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Charlie. Okay, guys, does anyone have any more questions? So what do I suggest, guys? If you are interested in the Yealink meeting platform, please sign up and get your free license. Set up a free trial and play with the platform. It's a very easy to use platform, simple to use, and if you do have any problems at all, I'm happy to run through the platform with you and help out. Okay, Charlie, another question?
Yep, sorry, I forgot to ask. One
That's
last
okay.
question. The free sign up, is there any expiry for that one or not? The free license.
No. So no, not at all. So if you sign up for a free license, then you've got that for as long as you like. The main thing is that you don't get that recording space, and you got a limitation of 40-minute meetings.
Correct. And it would be just only SIP call, not even though you can't connect with the Teams as well, isn't it?
No, you can't. But if you need a trial license, then we can definitely activate Teams connector licenses for a trial period.
Okay, for a trial period. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we say per host, it means that per user. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
A host is a user that can schedule meetings and has a virtual meeting room. So for instance, you can create 10 users on the platform, only license 2 of them. It just means that 2 users, when they schedule the meeting and run the meeting, they're the ones that have the unlimited time limit. If you use an unlicensed user and generate a meeting, you're limited to that 40 minutes.
Okay, makes sense. And with the Yealink connectors that we need to integrate with Teams, it was saying that per port, yeah, per year plus per port. So can you please explain per port thing?
Yeah, so it means per concurrent call. So if we have one user dialing into another Teams user, that's using one port. So if you want to have
Okay.
5 Teams users, you would need to have 5 ports.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
And that's the
All good.
same with the SIP and H. Yeah, no worries. That's the same with the SIP and H.323 licenses. So if you have 5 poly or audio, whatever endpoint, SIP or H.323 endpoints, if you're going to have 5 concurrent connections to the platform, you need to have 5 ports.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, that's all good. This one is a great product, I must say that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Charlie. Oh, g'day, Neil. How you going?
G'day, Scott. Neil,
Are you
how are
there,
you?
Neil?
Yes,
yeah,
mate.
very well. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I have a question around the MeetingEye devices.
Yep.
In the image, you had 3 cables for simple deployment, obviously within a room. So is that indicating to me that there is no PC device that's actually required to run the meetings?
Correct. So the actual MeetingEye 400 and 600 have the codec built into the unit. So the unit itself is a SIP or H.323 endpoint. You don't need anything else at all.
Okay, no problem. Does that mean that those camera units are still usable in other rooms for whether it be Teams rooms or Zoom rooms or whatever it may be?
Okay, so in the
Or are they?
future, in the future, there will be firmware released so that these devices can be connected via USB to a PC and be used purely as a USB-based speaker mic camera system.
Okay, so for now they're just for the Yealink meeting platform.
Well, they're for any SIP / H.323 platform. So if you were using Lifesize or you're using Polycom, any platform that supports SIP or H.323 endpoints, then you can use the MeetingEye devices.
Okay. Great.
Now, in terms of what I was saying before in regards to the USB connectivity, so in the future, you'll be able to connect the MeetingEye 400, 600 via USB to a PC. Then on that PC, you can run any software client you want. So you could run Teams, you could run Zoom, you could run whatever platform you wanted to.
Okay, great. Thanks.
No worries. Thanks, Neil. Okay, guys, any other questions? Okay, so I know that I ran through the interface very quickly. I know that we're just running over time now. If anybody is interested and they want me to run through the platform in more detail, please feel free to shoot me an email, scott.young@alloy.com.au. I'm happy to run through it in more detail with you. If you need help setting up the free trial, if you're set up a free trial and you need trial licenses, again, please contact me. Happy to help out wherever I can. Hey guys, if there's no more questions, we'll wrap up now. Thank you all for coming today. Appreciate your time. And we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you.